Are we on the verge of meeting the Antichrist? Is the era, the time of the Antichrist on our doorstep? Some people say yes, and other people say no. But I find it interesting that back in the 12th century, saint and doctor of the church, Hildegard of Bingen, had mystical visions of the end times. In fact, her 11th vision is of the 5 beasts of the Antichrist and the final time period between good and evil, where our Lord will return. And I want to share with you briefly today these 5 beasts that represent 5 time periods and why we may be on the doorstep of the Antichrist. We may be seeing him very soon. But more importantly, what St. Hildegard of Bingen had to say about a preparation of a people, a good people, a remnant within the church that would be needed to face off with the heretics, with the Antichrist army in the final act of time. That we're going to be talking about right now. As St. Hildegard of Bingen, the Scivias is the work. You might have read it, you might not. I'll try to link to it below. But it's the 11th vision that I want to share with you, at least a part of it. I'm not going to be sharing all of it. I just want to be brief here. But it says, I looked to the north, and behold, 5 beasts were standing there. One was a fiery dog, but the dog was not on fire. One was a lion of tawny color, another a sallow horse, another a black pig, and another a grizzly wolf. All of them were turned to the west. In the presence of these beasts and in the west there was a hill which had 5 tops to it, a rope which had been stretched out from the mouth of each beast to each of the 5 tops of the hill. All of the ropes were black except the rope which stretched out from the mouth of the wolf. Now that is very, very interesting. I want to talk about the general descriptions, but in this book she actually leaves us some illustrations, St. Hildegard of Bingen, about these beasts. The vision also incorporates an image of the Lord in his second coming and of the church under the guise of a woman, and I'll get into that more in a moment. But this book here is by Reed Turner. This is called The 5 Beasts of St. Hildegard, Prophetic Symbols of Modern Society. Reed takes the vision of St. Hildegard and he applies it to our modern time, which I find very interesting. I want to say that I think he may be off a little bit, and I want your opinion on that as well. But Reed Turner starts us off with the fiery dog starting in the year 1820, going to 1914. Now, Hildegard of Bingen describes this era of time as a biting people. A biting people. Let that sink in for a second. Now, if you back up just before 1870, what do you get? Well, for sure you get the Protestant Revolution in the 16th century. You also get the rise of Enlightenment, and you get the French Revolution in the 18th century. You also get Karl Marx and Marxism, socialism that begins to spread throughout Europe and around the world. And so it's not too far-fetched to see how you might come to a biting people in this era, right? Franco-Prussian War, you get a lot of issues. Now, the next phase is the lion. This is a militaristic people, a martial people. From 1914 to 1945, you have serious global warfare. 100 or plus million people die. Cities are decimated. Entire countries are removed from the map. In the midst of this, what do you get? 1917, Our Lady of Fatima appearing in Portugal. October 13th of 1917, what do you get? You get the vision of the sun dancing in the sky. And just after that happened, a priest asked Lucia, hey, what did Our Lady say? Pray, fast, do penance. Penance, penance, penance. If you'll do penance, if you'll pray, the war will come to an end. But if you don't, the world would come to an end. Let that sink in. So this is a prophetic vision of the end of time. And that is in the midst of this time of great war, of great upheaval and turmoil within the world. Now, the next time period, starting in 1945, is the Pale Horse. Now, this is also very interesting because once the war comes to an end, the pendulum swings hard towards communism. Remember, also going back to 1917, Jacinta in 1920 at the orphanage, when she received her private revelation from Our Lady, was told that the eras of Russia will spread throughout the world, and once Russia consecrated to her Immaculate Heart. We're all still kind of waiting on that one, aren't we? Well, here we are in this era of the Pale Horse, 1945 to 1991, And what do we see? The eras of Russia spreading throughout the world. Communist China, Korea, South Asia. You get to Cuba. You get to all of South America with liberation theology and the Jesuits helping to spread Marxism, socialism there. And we are definitely seeing the eras of Russia, the eras of socialism, the eras of sexual licentiousness, which is what this era is really characterized in her visions, in St. Hildegard's descriptions. She says that this is an era of licentiousness, of sins of the flesh, which is also something Jacinta received in 1920 from Our Lady, that the greatest sin, sending the most people to hell, is the sins of the flesh. And I just did a study with the Fatima Center on the sins of the flesh in the eras of Russia. And abortion, sexual license, all of these things have spread throughout the world. And they were definitely knee deep in that in Russia prior to 1917, making it worse under the Bolshevik Revolution. So this era is going all the way up to the fall of Soviet Union, is marked by the sexual revolution, revolt again of mankind revolting against God. So we're seeing that for sure. Now, Reed Turner believes we're in the era of the black pig, and I want to read something to you about that because I think it's very, very interesting. There's something unique about this particular era as compared to the others. Let me just go to St. Hildegard here. She says, "Another beast was a black pig. This signifies the course of time when rulers will bring the great blackness of sadness. These rulers will envelop themselves in the mud of uncleanness. They will not esteem the divine law, but will have the contrariness of fornicators and of others of similar evils. They will bring about many schisms in the holiness of the divine precepts." The black pig was described as being corrupt rulers. Rulers who are giving themselves over to the sins of the flesh, who are greedy. So you're going to see a rise of socialism, a rise of globalism in this era, led by rulers. Now, what I find interesting is we can easily think of, like, say, the World Economic Forum, or the World Health Organization, or the United Nations. You can think of those things, and there's truth to that. You can think of perverse leaders. Bill Clinton is a good example of that, right? How about Macron and so many others are examples of these perverse leaders. But I want to say we need to be looking at leadership in the church, and I believe that this vision incorporates that. They will not esteem the divine law, but will have the contrariness of fornicators and of other similar evils. Father Marco Rupnik, anyone? And many, many other examples. The former Cardinal McCarrick. There's so many examples that we can point out today of prelates, of cardinals, priests in the church who have led their lives of fornication at the highest levels of the Vatican and beyond. They will bring about many schisms in the holiness of their divine precepts. Who's in charge of the holiness of the divine precepts? That's the church. That's the hierarchy of the church, Holy Mother Church and her ministers. And who can create these schisms by rejecting that? The same people. I feel like we're seeing that now for sure. But it's the next epic that I want to pay attention to, and that is the gray wolf. Now, the gray wolf is interesting for a number of reasons. The rope is different than all the other ropes. The mountain represents the world of flesh and the devil and the sins of mankind. The ropes represent their attachment to these eras of time, the people living in that time, and their attachment to the sins of that era. The rope for the gray wolf is both black and white, which is very fascinating. Let me read to you what St. Hildegard had to say. She says, "Another beast was truly a grizzly wolf. This signifies those times when people will show their powers and success by committing a lot of robberies." A class warfare? Anyone? Have we not seen riots over class warfare in our time and in our society? The haves and the have-nots. The have-nots taking what they want, taking justice in their own hands. I think we are seeing that today. During their struggles, they will not show themselves as either black or white, but as grizzly ones, noted for their own strategies. Reed describes it as a gray wolf. So we're seeing here a time of vagueness, of ambiguity, hiding in the shadows, ducking in and out of the light. Truth sometimes, but lies other times. This vagueness, this weapon of relativity that's being foisted upon the church and mankind. Are we not seeing this today? So many people have seen fiducia supplicans as this vagueness, this weapon of ambiguity that is in error. It seems to fit this description very well. I'll go on. During their struggles, they will not show themselves as either black or white, but as grizzly ones noted for their own strategies. They will hurl down the heads of the kingdoms and divide up the kingdoms. Then the time will come when many souls are ensnared. Get that. Many souls will be ensnared. The era of errors will be lifted up from the hell. The error of errors will be lifted up from hell right up to heaven. The children of light will be martyrs placed upon winepress, but they will not deny God. That is good news. Good news indeed. She's talking about a remnant within Holy Mother Church that in spite of the heretics, in spite of the schisms, in spite of the errors and the chaos and the turmoil of the world, that through these persecutions, through these difficulties, through these challenges, a remnant, a small portion of Holy Mother Church will be tested with fire and come out the other end prepared, ready for battle. This is like a boot camp for the faithful. Not everybody's going to see all the way to the end. But those who do are being prepared for something bigger, for maybe the final act. It goes on. Instead, these children of light will cast down the children of destruction, who will continue to try to accomplish their own desires with the craftiness of the devil. All of these beasts were turned to the west. This signifies that the falling times will fall with the setting sun. For as the sun rises and falls, so also do people. When one is born, another one dies. It's very fascinating. It's very fascinating indeed. So, what do we see? The era of the black pig, false and fake leaders, bad, corrupt leaders, fornicators, who are given over to their greed, to their selfishness, to their licentiousness. I mean, the pale horse set the stage, did it not? It set the stage with contraception, abortion, no-fault divorce. The destruction of the moral code in society that was the foundation of society is gone. We're now living in an era where our leaders, who should lead us to justice and goodness, instead lead us to corruption, right? We're seeing this, are we not? But the gray wolf, this is a duplicity. This is an era where the leaders hide in and out of vagueness and ambiguity, but there's still hope for a remnant to come to a ripe and fullness of holiness, to be prepared for the final act. Now, contrast that. Hildegard is talking about a good people being prepared, like a Gideon's army being prepared for battle. Go to St. Augustine's City of God, Book 3, Chapter 19, and you're going to see the opposite of this. St. Augustine in City of God talks about a remnant, a people being prepared, but these people are being prepared by the heretics within Holy Mother Church. Through their errors, their lies that they buy, the lay faithful buying these lies, buying into the error and the vagueness and the ambiguity of their snake-like tongues. They believe it, and those people are being prepared. And both St. Augustine and Hildegard talk about a time, a fullness of time, where there's a certain number of people, both in the good army and in the bad army, that need to be prepared. And once we've reached that fullness number, then comes Antichrist. In fact, St. Hildegard has the same vision in Vision 11 of her Scivias. And I'll show you the picture here. You can see there's an image. This is the 5 beasts. This is a better version of it. That's why I'm showing it. This is the Son of Man, who is the head of the cornerstone, and he is coming in to judge, to condemn, to destroy the Antichrist. But he is coming. And then there's a vision of the church in the guise of a woman. Now, Hildegard at first could only see the top half of her, but in Vision 11 she can now see the entire image of the church. And from her from under her breast down to her navel, down there, she has been wounded. Wounded by whom? She is wounded by her own people, by her own sons and daughters. Not her divine child, but her own sons and daughters, whom she cares for like a mother. They have wounded her own children. This is why the vision is so important, because we can see the infiltration and corruption within Holy Mother Church. We must not be misled by the vipers, the wolves in sheep's clothing within Holy Mother Church. But what's more startling is the image of the Antichrist in and around her pelvic area, where St. Hildegard says, down where the woman, the female, is discerned, you see this image of the Antichrist. And it is from within the church, this image of the church, comes the Antichrist and goes to war. That even though the church, this woman, is injured, she will be brought back to full and a better glory than even before, when the Antichrist is destroyed by her son. In fact, there is a bit of the vision that talks about those that bought the lies of the Antichrist, bought the lies of the heretics and the infiltrators, and they said, woe unto us, begged God to have mercy on them, that they should return to the gospel yet again. So what is the point to all of this? The point is, it does seem like there is some correlation, especially if you read Turner's book, about the times we live in, and the vision and the way it's described by St. Hildegard of Bingen from the 12th century doctor of the church. Now, Reed Turner suggests that we are in the era of the black pig, on the cusp of the gray wolf. I believe we may be entering the gray wolf right now. I believe we might be right there, which means we're on the doorstep to the time of the Antichrist. But I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know the day or the hour. Who knows? What do you think? Put a comment below and let me know what you think. But I do find it interesting because he also speculates, Reed Turner does in this book, that it's the Muslims that are going to provide the greatest persecution and trials in this era. The era of the gray wolf is not the end. It is a time of trial and persecution to prepare Gideon's army for the final conflict between good and evil in Megiddo with the Antichrist and the forces of the church. We're in that preparation phase. So if you want to not be misled by the devil and the Antichrist and his false prophet, what must you do? It's simple. And it really doesn't matter if the Antichrist comes today, tomorrow, 1,000 years from now. It's the same. It's always the same. It's what Our Lady of Fatima asked us to do in 1917, is to pray, fast, and do penance, to pray our rosary every day, to live in a state of grace, to pursue virtue, and to be obedient to our state in life. If you do those things, and you hold fast to the graces and the sacraments that our Lord has given to us, and you consecrate your family to the Blessed Virgin Mary, to the Sacred Heart of her divine child, then you have nothing to worry about. It won't matter what comes out of the Vatican, yet good or bad or indifferent. It won't matter what comes out of the White House or in politics in the UN or the EU or anywhere else on planet Earth. It won't matter that if there's a bullet, an atomic bomb, a great flood, or anything else that comes next. It won't matter, because you are living in a state of grace. That is the one thing God calls us to do. And as St. Padre Pio says, pray, hope, and don't worry. That is the answer. That is always the answer. We must do penance. We must offer our sacrifices and sufferings for the salvation of souls. That is the message of Fatima, and that is our message today. So, St. Hildegard of Bingen, pray for us. What do you say? Let me know in the comments below.